Hi, I'm Maria Finan. I'm one of the Senior Assistant Directors in the Office of Undergraduate Admissions at Notre Dame. We're super excited today to be diving into our short answer prompts. But before we get started explaining how you might want to go about tackling those, I'll let my colleague introduce herself.
Hey, I'm Montana Curvin. I am an assistant director here at Notre Dame. And yeah, we're going to be talking about the short answer prompts, what kind of we're looking for as far as like what types of questions there are, and then just giving you guys some ideas on, how to answer them.
So we often hear that this is one of those topics that just kind of makes students nervous, and we've made some changes for this year that we're really excited about. So students applying to the university will all have one required question that they're going to answer. It'll be 150 words. And then we give you a choice of 3 questions that you'll respond to. You'll have 5 to choose from, and you'll have roughly 100 words each to respond to those. So the required question this year is that everyone has different priorities when considering their higher education options and building their college or university list. And we want to hear from you about, tell us your non-negotiable factors when searching for your future college home. Montana, what are some of the things that students could talk about in their non-negotiables response?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a wide variety of things that students could talk about when talking about their non-negotiables. Maybe they want to attend a faith-based institution like Notre Dame, a Catholic university like Notre Dame. Maybe community is important. Residential life is a non-negotiable. Research, internship support, maybe study abroad, school spirit, activities, clubs, sports, what a university values, what their mission is, and even like affordability. Like there's really no end to what that negotiables list can look like, our non-negotiables list can look like, but those are just some ideas of things that students have told us is important to them. All right, so the next group of questions have shorter responses, and as a reminder, you're choosing 3 out of 5, so you've got a lot of options. But the first choice is, how does faith influence the decisions that you make? So Maria, how would you go about answering that question?
Yeah, I think the big thing to emphasize here is that faith is highly personal to each student. Yeah. So many of our applicants are Catholic and may want to talk about their Catholic faith, but at Notre Dame, we celebrate students coming from all different faith backgrounds. So whatever your religious tradition is, we'd love to hear about that. We've asked questions similar to this in the past, and a lot of time we'll hear about students talking about their involvement with their church or their mosque or their temple. And I think the big thing with this question is thinking about like, what role is faith playing in your life? And there's no one right or wrong way that faith can play a role in students' lives. Again, all of these questions are really aimed at just kind of getting to know you. And I think the piece that students often forget to answer is kind of how faith guides you, whether that's day-to-day decisions you've already made, decisions you're going to make in the future. So really think about, what does your individual relationship look like with your faith, but also how might that be influencing kind of your future or current path. And I always like to remind students, if this question just doesn't feel right for you, there are 4 more options. Absolutely. And we don't have any preferences on what questions students answer. Nope. So pick the ones that kind of stand out for you. The next question gives students an opportunity to share about their personal experiences and development. So we ask you, what is distinctive about your personal experiences and development? And this could be things like family support, culture, disability, personal background, community. And we want to hear about why are these experiences important to you and how will you enrich the Notre Dame community? We've asked this question before, Montana. Yep. So what are some personal experiences you've seen students share for a question kind of like this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different answers we received and how students define what's important to them and the why it's important to them. But some things we've heard are students talking about how family has shaped them, how family dynamics, how those personal bonds or responsibilities they have in their family have really been influential for them. Also, like maybe where they come from, like geographically, like students from like a rural community that's like, hey, this is a lot different than maybe students you usually see. Like my community is really special to me in that it's rural or in that it's urban or wherever they're coming from. And then also like cultural, religious traditions. Like we've received essays about traditions that are really impactful for students that really have been an instrumental part of their life and their journey and their story. And then also maybe like a personal disability, and maybe one for a student or their family members, and how that has impacted their life, maybe how they've navigated things differently, or maybe how they've had to take care of others and navigated that very differently. So that can look very diverse as well. Or maybe being raised in like a bicultural household and the joys and struggles that come with that, and how that shapes your worldview and how you feel about where you fit in the world and in your communities. So every student has a unique story to share, and we want to hear about what has shaped you guys. So we want to hear about these experiences. We want to hear about the why and what they mean something to you. We also want to know how those are going to be something you bring to Notre Dame. So how is this going to be an experience that will be with you here, and what are you going to bring to Notre Dame? So if you're not sure what to share and this question doesn't like ring a bell for you, that's totally okay. Like we said, there are a lot more options. So one of the next questions we have is, Notre Dame's undergraduate experience is characterized by a collective sense of care for every person. How do you foster service to others in your community? Maria, how would you go about answering this one?
Yeah, I love this question because I feel like it really gets at kind of the mission and values of Notre Dame. We tend to really see students using their education to serve others and benefit the community. So there's a lot of different avenues that students can kind of talk about. So some students will talk about really meaningful service and volunteer work they've done. Sometimes this might be more advocacy work. That could be at a school level or a community level. Students may be really powerful allies, and we love hearing about that. Students often are really passionate about enacting change, and so sometimes that's through research. So social justice research is something we've seen in the past. Yep. We also often see students just really getting involved trying to make your schools better. So whether that's a policy change or a curriculum change. Some students, this also may very much be an impact in their home sphere. So some of you may have significant family responsibilities, whether that's caring for siblings or caring for your grandparents or elderly relatives or a parent. So service can be a kind of a broad sense of caring for your community. We've also seen students just get really excited about something and start their own club or organization to make that positive impact. So community is really broad. It might be your family, it might be your neighbors, your classmates, your religious community, your city. We're not here to tell you what that is. We want you to tell that about us. So if you're taking care of others or you're standing up for others, we see this as like fostering that spirit of service. And we'd love to hear about just the ways you're engaging with your community and why they're particularly meaningful to you. Again, some students, this might be like a question you're really excited to answer, but if not, we've got more questions for you. The next one is a great question to share something about yourself that someone else has recognized in you. So it's, what compliment are you most proud of receiving, and why does it mean so much to you? Montana, what are some of the things we've had students share with us in the past that might be good fits for this one?
Yeah, we've gotten a lot of different responses for this one. I think it's really super fun to hear, and you get to hear about students from kind of a different perspective. And also I think it shows like what is meaningful to a student from like what someone else said about them, like what do they value, but also what do others see in them that they're good at. So it's a really cool kind of two perspectives that I love from this. But we often see like, comments made from a teacher or a mentor, a coach or an employer, something about like, your character. We've also gotten like compliments from strangers or, students who are working at their job, and a customer who had like a 5-minute interaction with them gave kind of what they thought was a passing compliment, but meant a lot to that student. And I think that's pretty cool as well. These can be comments from other people you've known for a long time, like your friends and your peers and your siblings, people who have known you for ages. And then it doesn't have to be an award, it can be that passing comment, but if you received recognition for something amazing and that kind of was a compliment to something you're good at or that you've done, that can be a form of recognition and a compliment that you can share with us as well. But it certainly does not have to be any formal award. It can be that comment from a stranger. Whatever, meant most to you, like that's what we're looking for, which is nice. So there's a really broad kind of sense. We just want to hear what you value. Don't think about what we'll value. We want to know what you think. So that's what that one we kind of have seen in the past, is a wide variety of things. And then the final prompt that we have is, what would you fight for? Which is kind of a uniquely Notre Dame question. So Maria, can you share more about why we asked that question here at Notre Dame?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And it comes from this What Would You Fight For series that the university has put out for over the last 10 years. And those videos are usually shown during Notre Dame home football games, and they're opportunities to just see amazing work that the Notre Dame community is doing. So some of that has been research related, like research in cystic fibrosis. We've seen amazing cultural and human rights work. Notre Dame, our mascot, is the Fighting Irish. So the What Would You Fight For comes from that. And this question I love because it's just so open to students about, like, what are you passionate about? You know, if you have this opportunity to come to Notre Dame or during your college career, what is it that you want to do to make a difference in the world? So again, some students, that's in the field of research. That might be through community work. That might be through policy change. You might want to go on to graduate school or become a lawyer. You might want to be an ethical business leader. You know, there's no one right answer to this question. I think part of what I love about this question is it just gives us some really great insight into what students are passionate about and what they're really excited to fight for. So any area can be an area for this question that you want to make an impact in. And I think this is just, again, a very broad question. And we don't have favorite questions. We love reading all the responses. Yeah. The goal is really just to get to know you as a student. I do think it's important, though, that we note, so we accept different applications. We accept the Common App. You can apply Coalition on SCORE. And then we also accept the Questbridge application. For Common App and Coalition, that process looks the same. It's that overview of you have that one required question and you'll pick 3 of these short answer questions. But for our students who are applying through Questbridge, Montana, can you just talk about the questions that they'll respond to, since it's a little different from our other students?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you are applying Questbridge, it will look a little bit different. You'll have 2 required kind of supplemental questions, and they're going to be shorter responses. So those 2 that we selected are the list of non-negotiable factors, so telling us about your non-negotiables in your future college home. And the second one for students will be, that sense of how do you foster service to others in your community. So those will be the 2 questions that our Questbridge students who are applying with the Questbridge application will respond to. So like we talked about earlier, same kind of questions, but those are those 2 for that.
Awesome. Well, we're hoping that this was helpful, just an opportunity to hear a little bit about how we think about these questions, the way they've been tackled in the past by other students, and obviously some of these are new, so we're excited to hear from all of you about how you'd respond to them. But I think the big thing to emphasize is that an authentic answer is the best one. We really want to get to know the real you. There are no right answers. We don't want you to make up things to tell us. We really want to hear whatever it is you're passionate about. If you pick the What Would You Fight For, like whatever really gets you going, that's all we want to learn. So if you get stuck, I always tell students, don't feel like you have to stick with a question just because you initially selected it. You're only going to have to answer 3 of the 5 after you've tackled the non-negotiables question. So if you get stuck, pick a different one. Montana, any last advice from you?
I think my best advice, like you already said, is like be authentic. And I always tell students the goal is that if your name wasn't on your paper, could someone who knows you read it and be like, oh yeah, this is so-and-so's essay, of course. So just should be your voice, be authentically you, to the point where someone who knows you really well would recognize it as your own writing. So that's really the goal. It's our chance for us to get to know you, hear your voice. It's kind of the most fun part of the application, I would say, and really kind of brings that full image of who you are as a person together, and that's so important. So no wrong answers, but hopefully this is some good guidance.
Awesome. Good luck. Happy writing. Please reach out if you need anything. Absolutely. And of course, go Irish.
Go Irish.